Just a sec, Liam.
That's all
Let me pause that first. All right. So, yeah. Liam, thank you for giving me the time to chat with you. And I heard about you for the first time a few days ago, and I've just been intrigued and curious about this Liam, the youngest DTM Distinguished Toastmaster in in the whole world. Is that right?
Pretty much. I haven't heard of anyone younger yet.
Okay, so welcome to the You Matter podcast, and we like to talk to people and how did they matter? How did they make themselves matter or know that they matter, and how that could help others to also realize that they matter, because too many people in this world feel like they don't matter, right? So, good afternoon, Liam, once again.
Good
And
afternoon.
where do we start with this? There's so many things that I would like to ask you about. Let's just start with the most obvious thing. For those who don't know, Distinguished Toastmasters is the highest accolade or the highest title that anyone could achieve in Toastmasters. And Liam received his Distinguished Toastmaster at 19 and 8 months, something like that, right? Before he turned 20. I found out that you did it in August or something like that. So, and this is like, I've never heard anything like that. You know, people even thought 20 or 30 is quite young. And now you beat everybody 19. And I thought, how did anyone become a distinguished Toastmaster at 19? Because you have to be a member at 18. You have to be 18 when you become a member. But you could cheat a little bit. And that's how we do it in our club. You know, it depends on the maturity of the person. If they can be responsible, then they can be accountable for their work, then yeah, 17 and something, we let them in. So how was it for you? So how did you tell me how you got into Toastmasters in the first place?
So my grandfather, John Palmer, was the Gavel Club coordinator of our district. So have you heard of Gavel Clubs?
Gavel?
Gavel Club.
Club,
It's like
okay, yes. So you're from the Gavel Club?
Yeah, so we started in a Gavel Club because you have to be 18 or over to join Toastmasters. So Gavel Club is exclusively for people younger than 17.
Right.
So I joined just after I turned 17 because my grandfather asked me to go along to the club that he was just starting. He went, "Would you like to join?" And I said, "No, I don't really want to join. It's a Tuesday night club. I don't want to talk in front of people." And then he went, "Well, I've got a really bad back at the moment. Would you be able to help me set up?" And I went, yeah, I'll help you move the tables around. And so I went and I ended up joining the club.
Oh, so they kind of like manipulate you a little bit.
A little bit. Well, I saw the other kids there and I went, well, I'm not sure why they aren't. I'm a rather confident person when it comes to speaking in front of groups of people. And so just at the time, it confused me that the other kids weren't going for it and getting active. And so I went, well, the best way for me to get them invested in the club is to go above and beyond and be incredibly confident in front of random people.
Okay, well, that's something that's, I'm very curious about that. You know, that thought, that intention. I want to help other kids to be confident. How does that come about? How did that come about? What made you have that kind of like wanting to help others or wanting to serve others? Was it you already always been active or busy?
I guess I have always been active and busy, but I didn't know until I joined the club how it was very interesting at the time. So being a part of a Gavel Club and watching people grow is, in no offensive way, so much more rewarding than watching other Toastmasters grow. So being younger kids they develop and gain new skills so much faster. And so week to week, you're seeing noticeable differences. And it's incredible to watch. And even in the start of our first meeting to the end of our first meeting, how their confidence had grown by watching me and my grandfather speak without an issue in front of all these people. It's incredible.
Yeah.
They were getting excited and about what they were doing, and it was rewarding.
Wow, you already have that sense of I guess, feeling that it's rewarding and satisfying to help others, empower others in this case, right? Okay, before we continue, I'd like to see, how is it in your household? Because you said that your father is also a Toastmaster. I mean, were you familiar with it? Did you see other Toastmasters? Did you tag along to club meetings since you were little? And how is that?
Yeah, so my dad joined Toastmasters in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So
Before you were born. Before you were born. Oh, sorry. No, you were born. You were a little kid.
I was very little. Yeah, I was 3 or 4 at the time.
Yeah.
And he came home, and as I was growing up, I developed a joke in our household that all my dad would do was say blah 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 Toastmasters, blah 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 Toastmasters, for years. And then he asked my grandfather to watch one of his speech contests in about 2009. And 2 months later, my grandfather joined Toastmasters as well.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
My first time going to a meeting was actually to a club that the two of them had started in order to get their DTMs. So they'd started a brand new club in Southern River, and I went to their new club and did table topics master and answered some table topics and things like that.
How old were you then?
Maybe 12.
Okay.
Or 11, I think. Yeah. So the club has actually just celebrated their 100 meetings, I think. So it's getting there in age.
Yeah.
That was good fun. But as being in a gavel club, you have to leave gavel clubs as soon as you turn 18.
Okay.
So what I did was I attended a monthly Toastmasters club in November, of which my grandfather was a member, and he introduced me to their vice president of membership, a man who's very well known in our district, Ross Wilkinson, who at the end of the meeting came up to me with a membership form that he had already filled out for me. And I was signed up and presented my first speech the day after I turned 18.
And were your speeches in Gavel Club counted towards that, or did you have to start from scratch?
So I had to start from scratch. When I turned 18 in 2018, the pathways system had come through. Gavel Club is run on the traditional system, so I completed my CC and my CL manuals in the Gavel Club, and then moved to Toastmasters and had to do pathways. So nothing I did in the Gavel Clubs actually counted for doing Toastmasters. So I started from scratch, and in a year and 9 months, I completed 2 paths.
Were you kind of like a fast mover? Like, how many speeches do you do in a month? Or like you said, 9 months for 2 paths, so that's about 5 months for each path. That's pretty fast.
So when I first started, I was a member of that monthly club, and I did 1 speech in a 6-month period. And then at that 6 months, we had
in 6 months. Is that what you said?
We only had 6 meetings. Only 6 meetings. There's 1 meeting a month. I had 6 meetings, and on that 6th meeting, I decided that I wanted to become a DTM. And I said to this guy, Ross, what do I need to do? And he said, well, you need to be an area director. And the day later, he sent me a form that he'd filled out of my application to become an area director. And I was processed as an area director before I had presented my 2nd speech.
Wow.
And he'd also signed me up as Vice President of Public Relations at the same meeting.
So that would qualify you to be an area director, or how did that work? I mean,
Oh, yes. You don't have to do too much to become an area director. As what they took into consideration is the fact that they knew that I had done my CC manual.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they knew what my goals were. And as soon as I became an area director, I started a new club, of which I have now joined. I joined another club in my area because they needed members.
Mm-hmm.
I also joined them as a coach beforehand, so I coached and then joined the club.
Mm-hmm.
I then joined Southern River, the club that my grandfather and father started. I joined a club solely for area directors that we call Leading Lights, and that again meets monthly. And I have also now just started a brand new club in November, which is monthly, so I'm now a member of 6 clubs. So both being an area director and a member of, at the time, 4 different clubs, I was able to do multiple speeches a week. And that helped me.
But you just like took off.
Exactly. So it's something like you have to do 30 speeches to complete 2 parts because there's 15 each.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in my prime, about halfway through, I could do 3 speeches a week, and I was just flying through.
Yeah. And well, doing 3 speeches, I mean, if you just speak, it's probably easy, but there's projects, there are certain things that you have to do. And was it easy for you to give speeches or prepare? I mean, did you prepare your speeches? Like, I mean, did you write them, or just like you just so naturally a good speaker?
I don't know, natural. Throughout school. So in school we had to do speeches as well. And in my life, to this point, I have prepared a total of 3 speeches out of a probable over 50.
Say it again.
I have properly written out 3 speeches out of over 50.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I'm not very good at preparing speeches. I really, really do not like writing. It is
okay.
hate writing with a passion. So if I have to write a speech, it'll be a very formal one.
Yes. All right. Okay. So did you do contests and stuff, or?
I've only just started competing in contests. As I became an area director, you weren't allowed to compete in them.
Right. So that's right.
I've done the humorous and the table topics contests. And I'm very eager to compete in the international evaluation.
Yeah, so that's why I'm asking. I'm curious because like if you don't write your speech for contest, you're not going to. Well, it's not going to be easy, right?
That was my next issue actually. So table topics, I cleaned through. I was very good at table topics. I made it all the way to division in my first attempt.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Humorous. I wrote out my whole speech, presented it in front of a room full of people, and got 4 laughs in a humorous speech that I prepared. And what I learned from that experience was if I over-prepare and I try too hard in a humorous speech, it's not very funny.
Yeah, I think humorous speech, you don't need to prepare. It's almost like a stand-up comedian, you just have to know what topics. Yeah, but the international speech, how is that going?
I have started thinking of topics for that. But none of them have quite panned out the way that I've wanted them to. So I've got 2 months to come up with a good speech.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a go.
So what I'm hearing is like, you've breezed through, right? I mean, things have been quite easy for you. And now it's like possibly your biggest challenge to do the international speech contest, or thinking about having to write it and all those. But you still have 2 months. But it's okay. I'm not gonna tell you what about it. So and what is your? Okay, you do like 3 speeches a week, and that is without
not
anymore. So during that, when you were doing that, so are you in uni now, or are you? What do you do? Are you working or?
I was in uni at that time. So when I was doing the 3 speeches a week, I was also trying to study and do labs and things like that. And that, again, was not easy. I had a lot of things on my plate, which means that I got everything done. It just wasn't as good as I possibly could have done. This year, I decided that I would take a gap year to try and earn some money.
Okay.
And then the virus hit, and I lost my job for most of the year.
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't earn as much money as I was aiming for, but that's all right. I have now also decided that I'm going to change my route of study completely. So I was studying forensic biology and toxicology at a university, and I'm now moving down south to Margaret River to study winemaking at a TAFE.
Wow, brilliant. That must be quite a change. What made that change? Well, I mean, somebody to choose forensic. I mean, I can't even repeat those words. It sounds like a lot of things. I mean, I kind of have an idea, but what was that again?
Forensic biology and toxicology. So cutting up dead people to
do what?
study.
To do what? To do what? I mean, cutting up dead people to autopsy.
So I work for the police.
All right. Okay, autopsy, I understand.
Yeah.
And then did you want it? Like what made you want to choose that? And then what made you not choose it anymore?
When I turned 16, I guess, my mum let me watch NCIS, of which I became very addicted to and watched quite a lot of NCIS, and decided that one of the characters, Dr. Donald Mallard, or Ducky as they called him, had a really cool job.
Hang on a sec. For those people who don't understand, who don't know what NCIS, can you just explain a little bit what it is?
NCIS stands for Naval Criminal Investigative Service, and it's a TV series, an American TV series that revolves around solving crimes. Generally, after someone has died, they try and figure out who killed him, and one of the characters is in charge of taking the body and finding out how exactly the person died. And I thought that was an incredibly interesting job, and that I could do that. I thought I had the stomach for it. I reckon I still might. It's just that over time your tastes changed, and I started enjoying wine.
So now, I mean, yeah, I would encourage you. If I were your mom, I would encourage you. Just do everything. Try everything until you find out what you really love. So what is the wine thing? So you're going to be you going to school for wine, or is it a course, or working at winery? A course.
Oh, both actually. So I will be working in a winery, and I've just got a job down south in a winery.
Congratulations! That's Margaret River, famous for its wine. Yeah.
South, just south of Witchcliff, so a couple kilometres south of Margaret River. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What
would you be? What would you become with the course? Would you become a sommelier? What do you call that? Sommelier.
No, definitely not a sommelier. So the course will only allow me to be a more professional winery assistant. It is a starting course for moving to one in Adelaide, or traveling the world and studying different wine areas. So this is just a 2-year course to learn exactly what the processes are on a winery. And so it would require further study after that to become a proper winemaker.
Wow. But even that, it would require you 2 years.
2 years.
I mean, if to get a degree, you need 4 years, but 2 years is almost halfway there.
The diploma. So this will be a diploma in viticulture.
Yeah. Well, for your information, I'm from Magical Bali Toastmasters Club, and we used to, until Corona, our home, the home for our club is at Hutton Wines. I don't know if you've heard of Hutton Wines. Yep. So Hutton Wines is Bali's first winery, and owned by Balinese also, and they have a lot of how do you say, a strong relationship with Adelaide. I think the owner learned from people in Adelaide, and so now it's quite big and it's quite well known, and they've won quite a few awards around the world. Yeah. If you look at our old club meetings, we're in they have a training room, and then they have wine bottles all around. Wow. So the collection of not just what they make, but it's, I think, the collection of the bottles from around the world. that they've collected. Yeah, it's called Hatton Wines if you ever wanted to look at it. Yeah. Wow. So that must be so interesting. And what is the home of a Toastmasters look like? Like I mean, like what I mean by that is your dad is a Toastmaster, so I guess he probably practiced around the house, or he talks about it. He probably gets excited about it. And is your mom also a Toastmaster? Or did she go to meetings, or do you have siblings and uncles? And how does that work?
So my mother and my grandmother, being
Yeah.
the wives of two very fairly well-known Toastmasters in our area,
All right.
flat out refused to join. So they've been to meetings and they know lots of different Toastmasters, but they will not join a club for some reason.
I think one Toastmasters in family is enough, or something like that, right? But now they have, your mom has to.
So
yeah.
they just don't want
Interesting.
to be part.
Yeah. You know, I know Peter and Marion Law. I don't know if you know them.
Really? You know,
They
Peter
came to
Law?
our club twice. They came for a
Wow.
visit first, and then they came again a few years later. So if you see them, tell them, say hello for me.
Peter competed in the Southern Division Humorous Contest the other week with a hilarious speech.
Oh, I must listen to that. Yeah.
It was very good, yes. Peter and my dad were, well, as my dad had said, close back in when he was doing his speech contests. My dad hasn't been the most consistent Toastmaster over the past few years. He's had a job to look at. Oh, he's just taken over a new portion of his office to manage. But he has a lot of respect for Peter, as he finds that Peter is a very incredible speaker, which I now understand. He did present an amazing speech.
And they were a couple, right? And they both beat DTMs, Marianne and Peter. So yeah, I can't imagine, you know, what they must talk a lot about Toastmasters at home. Yeah. And what about siblings? Do you have siblings, or do you have uncle? Your dad has siblings, or how is that?
My dad has two siblings, a brother and a sister. His brother is younger and has a wife and 5 kids. And his sister has a husband and 1 kid. And I have another brother who's doing his own thing somewhere else in the house. But yeah, he's too young to join Toastmasters. He's only 13, I think.
All right. Yeah. So if you do, okay, I guess you haven't really done many contests, but I guess if you do contests, would your mom show up, or would your grandma show up? And
Not yet. So far, all of my contests has just been me. The others they're quite busy.
Yeah. And okay, I want to ask other questions, but I was looking at your district, the 17, right? District 17. And they made a list of all the DTMs since the beginning of the district. Did you know that? No. I was looking up your name, so that showed up. And so they list that, and then how many times the DTMs. And I saw like one person has 10 DTMs, and some 8, some 9, and then I think your grandfather just had the second one, right, John? Because I saw John Palmer, and then there's a Mike Palmer.
Wow!
Yeah. Quite a record. Yeah, and of course you know Alicia Curtis, right? But she's from the other side. Is District 17 just the West Australia, or also? Okay, all right. I thought it was
the broke off a few years ago. It used to be quite a large district, and we managed to get enough clubs to split off and start a new one. I say we. I wasn't a part of it, but a couple of my mentors were quite key in the starting of a brand new district.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then like there's the things. One about your confidence, and the other, before we go there, how do you relate to your peers? I mean, does being a Toastmaster impact that, make a difference? I mean, like because you know, like you would be it sounded like you already started Toastmasters already a fairly good communicator. But how did that improve? How did it change? And then also the leadership side, and how you I feel like you're very mature to me. You don't feel like a 19 who just turned 20. but how would you compare, or like not compare? I don't use that word, but yeah, with your peers.
A lot of my friends are actually significantly older than my, I guess, age group. My friends tend to be around the 30 to 40-year-old age range, just because I'm friends with mostly Toastmasters.
Right.
So I guess, well, I would say some of my maturity came from spending so much time with people older than who I guess I would normally be expected to spend time with. I do not have too many friends, especially I've maybe two that are my age.
Okay.
The people that I work with are again a little bit older than me, but all of my friends in Toastmasters. I've got, I take that back. I've got one friend in Toastmasters who is my age. He might actually be younger than me a little bit. Most are 40 to 60 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And in Toastmasters, we tend to look at people at equal level or more at that potential, so not really caring about the age differences, right? But you were not always like that, right? I mean, what happened before you joined Toastmasters? Did you not have many friends, or were you just like not relate very easily with people your age or younger?
In school, I got along with everyone. So I was very good at making connections with people younger, people older. But in terms of friends, it wasn't too many people that I would actually have friendships with that were consistent, I guess. Like a lot of people I would communicate well with, and we'd get along and be friendly at a time, and then things would move on and they'd either move schools or I wouldn't spend as much time with them. But
I would guess at home you probably speak quite, at a mature level. Would that be the case? Like you discuss, you're not treated as a kid.
Not always. No,
not always.
So I spend a lot of time with my cousins on my mum's side of the family are a bit older than me, again about the same age as my Toastmaster friends. My cousin has just turned 61.
What?
And
Your cousin turned
61. 61. Yeah, there's a bit of confusion up in the
family order or a hierarchy. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's my cousin, and he and I get along very well. I would say in terms of having mature conversations, I have more immature conversations with him than I would with someone my age. It is very amusing. He and I go for more of the humorous side of things, and it's very rarely serious anything that I talk about.
Yeah, very interesting. And you wrote that you're a swim teacher. How does that fit in? Are you still a swimming teacher, or are you pretty tall? I mean, you look quite tall to me. How tall are you?
Not too tall, about 5'10" maybe.
Oh, okay. You seem to have like a longish.
Yes, I've got a very long neck, but very short body.
Okay, so you're a swimmer, but you're a swimmer. Is it? Or
I like the phrase "those who can't do teach." So my brother is the swimmer in the family, and he did squad swimming. He did a mock, what we call a rock nest swim, which is quite a lengthy swim from the main Australia to an island just off the coast. And he goes to training sessions and swims over 4 or 6 Ks in a session, which could be an hour or two. And yet my exercise includes me doing about 1 lap every 30 minutes of a 25-meter pool. So I maybe only swim 100 meters a day, maybe 300 over a week. So I'm not really a swimmer. I'm more of just float and teach people how to swim.
Yeah. So who do you teach? Younger kids or adults or?
Last term, the youngest kid that I taught was 3 years old, and the oldest person that I taught was 86.
Wow. So is it like a swim club, and then they have a trainer? Are you one of the trainers or the teachers? And then anybody who wants to learn, just go there. That's pretty amazing, the range.
Yeah, pretty much. We've got the normal level programs, 1, 2, 3 to about 15. We run bronze medallions courses. We run kids classes, like for babies. We run babies and then toddlers and adult classes. And we've now got a teen program as well, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love teaching adults because the things I say, they understand a little bit better. So I can tell them the reason why we do something, and they go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." And I'll go, "Can you do this?" And I'll go, "Yeah, sure," because they actually want to be there. Whereas a lot of kids, sometimes it's their parents going, "Look, well, we need you to be able to swim, so you have to go to swimming lessons." Yeah, adults actually want to be there, and it is very rewarding. About the same as running a gavel club. Very rewarding seeing their progress.
Yeah. I think, when you teach people who want to learn, it's the transformation you see, it's priceless. Yeah. So, and then the leadership, because you said you started a club, you had new members. Are they also older people and than you, or do you have like recruit younger members? Always older? Yeah, generally.
Well, we're not aiming for specific groups of people. It just happens to be that they're all in their, I guess, adulthood.
Yeah.
Better way to say it.
And you were still a teenager when you were.
Yeah.
And how did that work out? I mean, was it a natural respect because of how you carry yourself, how you conduct yourself, or is there a halo effect because father and grandfather are Toastmasters, so automatically they kind of like respect you? How does that work?
The level of respect that I am shown is not that of, I guess, how I would show respect to someone who is older than me. It would be that of not fear, but more of a professionalism.
Yeah.
Whereas the respect I'm shown is more of an understanding that I know what I'm doing, but in a very unprofessional format. So I joke around and have great conversations with everyone. And obviously, as all people are, there is always something for me to work on. And in my family, there is a trait that is quite well known in our district, I would say, as the palmer hands. I'm doing very well controlling them at the moment, but we tend to flail them around and have gestures that are never purposeful. And my grandfather is definitely the spearhead of this movement, and he gestures constantly and he waves his hands around, and every recommendation that he gets will contain his hands at some point. And they go, "I found you didn't use your hands with much purpose. I would urge you to use more gestures more purposeful gestures." And I am very much the same. That is the one thing that I struggle on working. So each week I'll get a new recommendation on something, and it'll take me a week or two to work it out. So I've started growing my hair out, and earlier in that process, during one of my speeches, apparently I kept tucking it behind my ear without realizing. And so in my next speech, I focused on not touching my hair at all, no matter how much it covered my face. And I worked it out that way. But the gestures is always something that I struggle with honing in to make sure that they're actually purposeful as opposed to just waving around aimlessly.
Wow, that is so interesting. It is so interesting that it's like it seems like hereditary or genetic or something, and then that it's so hard to get it out, right?
It's a bad
But
habit that I cannot control. So other habits, generally what happens is when I get one recommendation and I get rid of it, another one will pop up. So I had the hair 2 weeks later. Apparently I was clicking at the end of my sentences. And I'm like, okay, well, I can fix that. And then, a big one that I got was I always start my speeches or evaluations or table topics like this, going big and out there. And I've been told that if I start calmly and build up to that energetic level, it'll build more of an impact with the audience.
mm-hmm.
So things, obviously, I say obviously, something will always come up that I will need to work on. So you fix one thing and something else will go wrong, and you fix that and then something else will pop up. Something that I admire in both my father and my grandfather, or two of them for very separate things. My grandfather is a very humorous speaker and is loved by everyone that he meets. So my dad told me that he doesn't really like going to our conferences and conventions because people walk up to him and go, how's your dad going? Is your dad doing okay? How's John going? And just forget about him. My dad, on the other hand, is, in my eyes, a phenomenal evaluator. He is incredible at giving his evaluations. And I hear it in feedback that my friends and his friends tell me. And they go, look, your dad is one of the best evaluators that I've seen. And I try and emulate what he does and act the same, but it's just not quite at that level. Yeah, my dad's evaluations and my grandfather's humour are some things that I would like to work
isn't
on.
that interesting? Yeah, that they have like certain strengths, and that evaluator thing, like no matter how much you I guess take courses or learn, there's some people that just does it in a way that you cannot emulate no matter how much you practice. There's an it factor, but we have some similar things here. So and isn't that what's beautiful about Toastmasters? Like we respect people by merits, merits rather than age, status, all these other things. It's just that how you show up and how you care and how you lead. That's all that really matters to us. Yeah. So, what is next for you? I mean, I know the contest thing is one, but how does Toastmasters change you or elevate you? You think?
The club that we just started is an entirely impromptu club. So we find out who is doing the speeches and the evaluations as they're about to give them. So we draw a name out of the hat, and we draw a topic out of the hat, and they present a speech. And I find that working on that has changed me quite a bit. Like, it's a skill that I had, but a skill that I had not developed as well as I could have. So being able to come up with an entire 5 to 7 minute speech on the spot, like a long table topic, is something that has changed me. I mean, I can do it now, and that has helped me in especially job interviews. I've had quite a few over the past few months, and they'll ask you sometimes some quite difficult questions. And being able to think quickly on your feet, and we had this discussion at the club, being able to think quickly using your mind, because you're not really thinking with your feet, to answer these questions is something that I feel I have been improving on over time. So I'm dyslexic and dysgraphic and find it very hard to string the words in my head together and then either write them or say them. I can speak much easier than I can write, but even then it is still quite difficult to get everything in the right order. And then I find the more that I practice impromptu speaking and table topics and these longer speeches, at the club that we call Off the Cuff, is actually benefiting me in so many different aspects. It's helping me hold better conversations with people because I am working, or I can tie the words together that I need to a lot faster than I was before. I'd speak for a bit and then I'd get stuck on one word and I'd lose everything. And working on this has changed that, and I'm now, I guess, able to sell myself better in a job situation now that I can come up with things and string words together a bit better than I could.
Wow. I'm still like listening to you, and I'm being flabbergasted at the same time. So a club entirely based on off the cuff, on impromptu. So that is like the focus of the club.
Entirely.
Yeah. So this is like so counterintuitive, or counter, whatever you call it. Like, you know, if we have clubs that they're not prepared, they just like appointed somebody, we kind of like look down, you know, they're not organized, right? But to do that intentionally is so interesting, and I can see how that would be beneficial, and would be like putting people on their yeah, thinking on their feet, also like on alertness, on such high alertness that you are forced to think faster all the time. And how long have you had this club? And how did the idea, I mean, did you come up with that yourself, or did a few people say, let's do something like this, or come out of a need?
My grandfather and I started the other club last year, and we've now decided that every year we will attempt to start a new club. So we were originally going to start one in Mandurah, which is south of Perth, but well north of Margaret River. And then he decided that he'd like a club that worked on impromptu speaking. And I went, Off the Cuff would be a good name for that. And he went, that sounds excellent. So we started putting together the club. There were 4 of us sorting it out, you know, your 2 mentors and your 2 sponsors to start up the club. It is a monthly club, and we have held 2 meetings so far. So we had one on the 2nd of December and one on the 5th of November, I think. And they went really well. At our first meeting.
A monthly meeting club.
Monthly club, yeah. So on the first Thursday of every month, we will meet. We're currently at a little over 10 members, so we're looking to strengthen that a little bit more, but it should come up quite quickly. Something that we got feedback from a couple of the members that said they enjoyed the fact that they didn't have to prepare a speech beforehand, because that can give you some nerves working on a speech, that it takes time out of your life to prepare it to go to a meeting. Whereas at this club, you show up. On our first meeting, my grandfather and I stood up at the front of the room together, and we did paper, scissors, rock, and he won. So he became the Toastmaster of the evening, and then I did table topics. So we had a table topics session. We had 3 speeches and a debate at the end.
A what in the end?
A debate.
Debate.
So, yes, we came up with a topic, and then it was 2 people. So we had 2 main arguments and then 2 rebuttals, and then we all voted on who we felt did the best job. At our last meeting, the one in December, we again had the 3 speeches. We had the debate at the end, and we had an impromptu session. So improv, like an improv workshop. So the guy who was running the session asked the room for 2 things. Our district director is joining the club, and he got, it was a mode of transport, and I said a motorbike with a sidecar, and someone said a food, and my grandfather said butter chicken. And so our district director and our public relations officer came up with a 2-minute long improv session on how they were going to try and take a butter chicken to a party when they both had large plates of butter chicken and they couldn't fit them in the motorbike.
I think something like that would always be so humorous because it would be so nonsensical kind of thing, right?
Is the most unprofessional meeting that I have seen. So we've still got the same meeting structure. It runs the same as a Toastmasters meeting, but it is not silent. So normally when someone is presenting a speech or when someone is getting up to talk, we always laugh. It is a constant thing. People throw in things from the audience. It it is so vastly different from any of the other clubs that I've attended, and I think that is what makes it a great club.
Yes, I think so. I mean, I'm very enthralled by it and would love to. I think I would love to join that club. It's very interesting. In Bali, we have what we call Toastmasters. Sorry, Table Topics Tuesday. It's table topics, but it on Tuesday, so we make it table topics. On those days, only table topics.
Wow.
And so a person gets 3 chances for guaranteed, because we create breakout rooms, so there'll be a table topic master for each club. I mean, for each room. So we've done it since the corona started happening, and so it's a regular thing now. Every second and fourth Tuesdays, just table topics.
That sounds like something really quite interesting. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, because like a lot of times we don't get to do the table topics we consider, like, we always invite guests, and so whenever there are guests, they're given the chance to do table topics, and like my club, we always have, like, we used to have like 10-15 guests all the time. Wow. So the members themselves never get a chance to do the table topics. Ooh. So something like this, you're going in, you get 3 chances. and people start, creating, becoming also very creative in table topics. So it's quite an operation now. So come visit someday. It's, yeah. And then the people who come, then they said, okay, I want to try to be the table topic master, because then you also become creative about that. And there's preparation, there's the training for it, just so that, you can run the session smoothly. Yeah, but that one, I'm very, very curious. One time, Liam, when we had conference in Bali in 2011, I was the OC of that, and we had an extemporaneous Toastmasters meeting for people who come early. Conferences usually start Friday to Sunday, right? So, but there are people who wanted to come to Bali early, so they came on Thursday. I said, okay, whoever comes on Thursday, let's have a meeting, and it's a little bit extemporaneous like that. We knew the TME, but the rest is just like who's showing up. And then there's a part that somebody suggested was very interesting. We did the evaluation in reverse. So the evaluation is done first. Have you done that?
We have done what we call a reverse meeting. So you literally have the agenda and you flip it all the way around. So you start with the general evaluator, then the timer, and then the grammarian, the evaluator, the speech, the evaluator, the speech, the evaluator, the speech, and
so evaluator,
the table topics, the inspiration, and the Toastmaster. All in reverse.
All in reverse, and it also has all has to be impromptu, right?
Pretty much. You could come with a speech idea, but if your evaluator says, look, I loved how you were screaming about bears throughout your entire speech, then the speaker could then choose to take on that, what the evaluator has said that they did.
Yeah.
And do it throughout the meeting. We had one in a gavel club that I ran where someone said, I love how you just randomly left the room halfway through your speech to talk to the librarians. So during the speech, he was talking to us and suddenly he started walking around the table, still talking to us, and left the room. Started talking to the librarians midway through his speech.
Cool. Really cool. Yeah. Wow. I'm really, really enjoying all this, like, I guess, out of the box style ideas. Really, really interesting. Yeah. So Yeah, and like if anyone now would want to be a DTM, is it still as relatively easy for you for people to become DTM in your area and in your, I mean, I'm talking about in the district, or is it like in our case in my division in particular, people used to be like, no, I don't want to be area director, I don't want to be this, I don't want to that. So like sometimes we have to do like a repeat, right? But suddenly they just lights up and suddenly everybody wants to be distinguished Toastmasters. And of course, they're going to scramble for the area director um, yeah, job. What about your area or your district?
So our district, it is not incredibly well known what a distinguished Toastmaster is. So a
Uh-huh.
lot of the people that I have spoken to in the clubs, they'll go, "Oh, what's that? Can you explain it to me?" And about 10% will go, "I think I could give that a go. I just won't do it as fast as you tried to do it." So, so some people will then take it on, but a lot kind of just stick with going through pathways and seeing how far that will take them.
Uh-huh.
Usually they will then attempt a role on the club committee, and it'll
Mm.
be many years if they stay in Toastmasters before they take on a
Mm.
role like area director, unless you have someone convince them that it is incredibly easy to do, which it isn't always, but depends on
Yeah.
who's convincing them.
Do you have a lot of like what is the demography of your membership?
Um, Between the ages of about 25 and, well, my grandfather's just turned 80, so I'd say
Mm-hmm.
probably about 80, between 80 and 25,
Yeah.
centre around that 40 to 60 age gap or age range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I don't know how you recruit your members, but it seems like in our district, the majority are, I would say, between 20 and 40,
Wow.
like the majority. So they're quite, yeah, savvy with technologically savvy, and they quite ambitious, and then they see somebody else, oh, me too, I want to do that. So they do that. And but I guess it's also just recently, because until then, until last year, people are still like, oh, they could be doing the old program still because it just finished last year, right? So some people didn't even want to start pathways. It's too intimidating, to technological and all that. But yeah. And so, what is your aspiration in Toastmasters? You've built like what, three clubs now? Three
Two.
clubs?
Just two clubs. I've only
Two.
been in it for 2 years, so I've only started two clubs.
Oh, that's right. One a year, right? One a
One
year.
year, 1 year.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I started two
But,
clubs. I'm a member of six.
mhm.
Mm.
And how do you manage that six? Is it because some of them meet monthly?
Yes, so three of them meet monthly, which makes it nice and easy. The
Uh-huh.
other three meet weekly. The problem is two of my weekly clubs meet on the same night, so I'll alternate them week to week. I'll go to one club and then the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And are they all online? So how would that
None of
affect?
them are online,
No,
actually.
none of them are online. Wow.
Two of them, one is online every second week, and one of them is online 2 months in a row, and then an in-person meeting, and then 2 months online, and then 2 months, 1 month in person. But that's a monthly club.
Mm-hmm. So if you go to Margaret River, what will happen?
I'll have to drop most of my clubs. But because they meet in person, and I live in Canning Vale, and a lot of the clubs are in my area, I will attend the one that I just started, the Off the Cuff. I'll drive up monthly for that. I'm currently president of a club, so I'll have to stick around visiting up for that one every few months.
Drive back and
But I
forth.
will most likely have to start dropping the others.
Well, come and join our online clubs. I think in our club in our area, in our district, there are about, well, every club in our district are online.
Oh,
So
wow.
everyone. So some are hybrid, but since COVID, everybody turned online. So only a few now actually are hybriding, or we don't even have a full offline club meeting.
Wow.
Yeah. So come and join us. There's a lot of opportunities. Huh? Sorry? You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
How many clubs are there in Bali?
In Bali, Bali only have four clubs.
Is it an area?
So there's one in, I don't know, you know Canggu, right? Canggu is like Kuta and north of Kuta.
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's one in Seminyak the Sunset Road, and one supposedly in Sanur, the one in Hatton Wines, but we've been meeting online since COVID, and now we're looking at a new place to meet. So, and then there's another one that is a Bahasa Indonesia Club, which is completely online from the very beginning, and it's still in the process of being charted. Yeah, but in the whole division, in my division, there are like how many? 10 more. Well, now there are 8 more clubs in Java. I don't know if you've ever been to Java, but East Java, that's also part of ours. And then there's also in Kalimantan or Borneo, there's another club there. So we're growing in that direction. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know how COVID affected you guys, but here people don't meet as often anymore in person. It's a bit of a cautionary effort, I think. Yeah. Well, Liam, moving forward, you said you're going to move to Margaret River. Any idea how you're going to do your Toastmastering? Are you going to change the way you're doing it? Are you going to go online, or are you going to create another one, a new one in Margaret River?
I think there is some sort of expectation for me to start a new club in Margaret River. There was one, but that was many years ago. I could try and start a new one down there, but I think I might have to try some online clubs. There are some in the general area. So there's one in a place called Donnybrook, which is a little further north. I think that might be a monthly club, so I could join that, which would be rather interesting because I hear that they do very nice meals afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And so like, have you experienced a burnt out yet?
Nearly. I'm pretty much there. I'm pretty much burnt out. So I've done a lot of things over the past 2 years. I did the district quiz night the other month, of which I was a main contributor to sorting that out and getting that running. What else have I done? I had to plan a large birthday for my grandfather and myself. We turned 100 this year. I turned 20 and he turned 80, so we had a larger party for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a cute one. 100 years combined. Yeah. All right. So anything you would like to give a message or for aspiring Toastmasters, either young or even already in Toastmasters, but maybe not as advanced as you are? What would be your advice or tips for them?
It's a tricky one because there are two schools of thought in my head, and there's one that says you should generally try to always know what you're talking about, and the other one says that if you're confident enough, as long as you convince the audience that you know what you're talking about, then it doesn't particularly matter. So it's just knowing that if you're to stand up in front of a group of people, in your head, you should be able to just flick a switch. It'll take some time to get to this point, but you just flick a switch and you go, look, I'm going to do my best. I know that I'm going to do my best and I will give it my all. And I know that once I've put everything that I can into this presentation, people will like it or take something from it. So for me, I've always had some relatively high confidence in my ability to speak in front of a lot of people. And what I find that a lot of newer members, that when I talk to them, it's them going, well, I just get so nervous about to present a speech. And I go, well, if you know what you're going to talk about and you're confident that if you were to tell me what the topic was and you could give your speech to just me, then there is really not a large reason that you shouldn't be able to give it in front of a room full of people.
Well, I love that one. I love that part when you said that you should know the topic, and then if you're confident or you're comfortable telling one person about that topic, there's no reason why you would not be able to speak like that in front of more people, right? I love that. I love that, and I think it's so true. And I'm kind of like leaning towards that way also. That technique is less important for me than the connection with the speech. Because if you're connected with it, you want to talk about it, it's important to you, somehow the power or the meaning or the import of that speech is going to come through, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's a very, very good advice. I think the way you put it like that, it makes a lot of sense. And what I'm also surmising from that is you start with the attitude, with the intention.
Exactly. I know that a lot of people that I have spoken to, they, when I say the initial, look, if you know the topic, then you should be able to speak about it. Some of them will go, well, I do know the topic. I don't have the confidence to stand up in front of that many people. And my answer to that will be, fake it. You want to fake your confidence to the point that you believe it. So if you can stand up in front of a room full of people and act incredibly confident and convince yourself that you are confident, then you're confident. So, I don't know, is that reverse psychology? By pretending to be...
I would have said, for most people, it's not as simple, but I think...
Yeah, I understand.
You have your youth going for you. You have your youth going for you in that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that, if you look at young children, they don't think about that. They just speak up, right? And I think if you can carry that and you have enough support around you to encourage you and listen to you, I think the listening part is very important. And I think Toastmasters give you that, and they look at you, they listen to you, like what you're saying is important, then you have that confidence already inside you. But if you never had that, and then you just tell that, it's going to be like, okay, it makes sense, but I don't get it. So and if you start younger, you probably never had this experience of being ignored or being ridiculed for what you said. That is already setting you apart from so many people. But in Toastmasters, even for people who don't have what you have, the experience of being listened to repeatedly and not being judged, and then we listen, right? I mean, when in Toastmasters, we listen, like people matter. No matter how terrible your speech is, or no matter how awkward it is, even if they don't say anything, we're still like listening. Come on, you can do that. And that experience is what changed people, what changed the confidence in people. I think the combination of that. But I think that thing that you just said about just speak, imagine you can talk about it to just one person. That's already enough. I think that is a change in the mindset, and that is very powerful, right? Just starting to that, because if you can think about that like that, then you can convince yourself. Actually, I'm just talking about what I already know. I could talk, imagine these are my friends, and I can talk to them like I want to talk to my friends. Yeah. Beautiful. So yeah. Do you have any question about anything else about Toastmasters from the other side of the world? Have you been, okay, I'll give you my question. Have you been to Toastmasters clubs other than your district?
I have not really been. I haven't travelled while I've been a Toastmaster. So I did all of my travelling when I was in school. I say,
Okay.
oh, I'm going to go out and do more travelling. I just haven't had the opportunity to go out to other countries and go to other Toastmasters clubs because I just didn't. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? If I knew that there was a Toastmasters club in Bali, I would have gone to the club 2 years ago when I last went. But no, just
Yeah.
I visit clubs here. I try and get around and go to new places. No, I have not yet been to a club outside.
Okay, I'm going to draw you out. I'm going to invite you to the online meetings. And yeah, after this, I'm going to ask you something about that. And so from my side, I'm so psyched. I'm so excited about this conversation. I learned a lot from you, and I'm inspired. I'm so inspired by you, by your exuberance, and by your confidence. It's for me, it's like, where does this kid come from? you know so I don't mean to say it in a derogatory way, but like, how come a person becomes so confident? But I think just hearing like what you're saying, and your surrounding, it made sense. And I think you are very blessed to have that kind of a support, that kind of encouragement around you, people who can see your potential, who can see you. And this is what not many people have experienced, being seen, and being like being seen for their potentials even before they show it, and just trusting that everybody has great potentials. And if we're older, or we're have the power to do that, it's such a rewarding thing to be able to help to bring that out in people. And I think we in Toastmasters do that very well, and you are trained so well, and I think you have like a great start in life. Imagine, you're 20. I keep saying 19. You're 20, and you're already like a leader. You already done so much. God, like, the world is in your feet. I think that you can do so much with what you already know, right? And you're going to inspire so many people, and I think you are going to inspire a lot of people in my district, in my division, and I'm going to share you with them, and we're going to have you with us also, right?
I can definitely do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me the time, and we'll meet again very soon. But don't go away yet, because I'm going to talk to you a little bit differently. And how do I stop this? All right.